Hey, you guys ready?
Mhm.
Welcome everybody to another World of Nutrition podcast with Marilyn Lemaire out of the lovely state of Hawaii. And we have two great guests today. And this is a part of the World of Ability Podcast Network. Thanks to Marcus Hart, Zach Clayton, Jay Stoyan, and Lawrence Wingate for having this show on their platform. So now that let's other things, pass it over to Marilyn to get us started today.
Thank you so much, Emily. Yes, welcome. I'm so thrilled today. We have two amazing guests. And so I will introduce our first guest, Melinda Chinen. She is an ICF certified life and grief coach. She helps people meaningfully process their grief and rebuild a life they did not think was possible after loss. Coaching is an art form to her, and Melinda is intuitive and sharp in her approach, which with each unique individual. She believes that once we aren't afraid to fully grieve, we aren't afraid to fully live. Clients have described their time with her as life-changing, and that coaching has allowed them to rediscover a path of enrichment and purpose. Through her offerings, Melinda's mission is to help each person realize that their ability to trust themselves through grief is the key to embracing a life of joy. I love that. Thank you, Melinda. Please take it away.
Thank you, Marilyn, for that beautiful intro. So I thought I would begin with just sharing a little bit about me and my story, and then getting visual and interactive with the art of grieving well. So as you shared, I'm Melinda, and I am a certified life and grief coach. My grief journey began, I would say, a very long time ago. I grew up with a family that took me to more funerals than to parties. I was raised in a very spiritual household where they were like, you will lose people, so love hard. But my experience of being sober to the true impact of grief happened when I lost my best friend. And I watched her die over a 3-day duration. And I just remember it being the most traumatic and also sacred experience. It really sifted out the stories we make that life is complicated and hard. And I learned, oh no, life happens in a blip. So it really matters how we live. I then spiraled into the most painful, hardest year of my life, where I didn't even want to live anymore because my own grief was unhinged and unprocessed. And sometimes I'll catch myself realizing that I'm a coach that loves this work because I really do want to help other people, but also because I wish there was someone like me on my journey when I did not know how to rebuild after loss. So I'm here to change the stigma that it's ironic we live in a world where loss is just a part of life, but grief is stigmatized. It is just the ultimate joy. I get so clear with people about what makes life meaningful to them after going through such tragedy. So that's a little bit about me. I thought I would just do a visual before I ask both you and Claire about your experience. Okay. So the art of grieving well is what I always say to people is the true nature of my work. Most people don't even know how to identify grief. So this is just a little simple explanation. Grief is a natural human response to loss. And there's so many different types of grief that can be part of someone's journey. I worked with a lot of people who experience anticipatory grief. So they have loved ones or family members who aren't fully transitioned, but their life has drastically changed, where they have Alzheimer's or different bodily changes that have caused life to not feel the same. There can also be delayed grief. A quote that I love that I think is so true is sometimes we're too busy surviving that we don't actually know we're grieving. There can be chronic grief where it's it's hard to measure grief, right? Because it's different for every individual, but chronic grief has such a grip on someone where they'll experience extreme levels of inflammation in their body, and also just not being able to function at a normal level. I say that with quotations, on an everyday basis. But overall, grief is a part of the human experience. And I love this quote at the very bottom. Grieving is a sacred art. To grieve the loss of what we love is as natural as peeing, eating, singing, dreaming, running, or looking under rocks for bugs to feed your frog. And that's by Martin Preachel. And I think in essence, what I really get from that is it is as of common as a human experience as the way that you laugh and sleep. It's primal within us. So learning how to be with it is actually a skill. And the one myth that I always love to break up for people is that grief is not an experience that happens in stages or in a linear way. The reality of grief is that it's unique to each individual, and it's more like a tangled ball. So you'll notice in this visual, like actually how intricate and dynamic it is. And I actually want to invite both of you to share anything that you notice or what sticks out to you personally.
For me, there's just so many different emotions that I didn't realize could be tied into grief.
Yeah. Any that surprise you in particular?
Betrayal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And jealousy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's even more wild to me to think that someone could hold even just those two in the same hand in one moment. No wonder we live in a society that doesn't know how to be with grief. It can be so overwhelming. Yeah. How about you, Claire? I'm curious if you have any thoughts just from your own experiences.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you're discussing this. This is definitely something that I didn't know how to process growing up. And that's it. It's so amazing how it's going to tie in with what I'm going to talk about. And that you focus just on grief, and yet it ties in other things. And I love how Marilyn said jealousy. Like, I did not think, grief and jealousy would be in that same ball of emotions, but I'm gonna focus on that and see and kind of like process it in my life too. So this was amazing so far.
Oh, thank you. I always love visuals because it helps to elevate, like, oh, the human experience is vast. And even in my groups, I'll show this diagram of a tangled ball and then encourage clients, okay, now outside of the space, your job is to create your own tangled ball of what you're aware of in this moment that has made up your experience of grief. And then throughout the next couple months is when we'll add stuff that they'll discover as, oh, wow, I didn't know that was part of my grief. But that's how we learn. That's how we learn to really partner with this natural human experience so that our grief can transform us instead of just coat our life and experience for the time we have left.
I'm also noticing that in the center is a perfect circle of denial. Like, I'm curious as to why that is.
Yeah, I love that you pointed that out. Denial is purposely in the middle because it's actually a protective mechanism that's also part of the human experience. The way I learned this is if we were actually present to all of the hard emotions that our grief journey entails at once, we would just combust. That would be a very normal response. And denial is actually there to help us process slowly our experience. So it's interesting living in a world where we're taught that there's good and bad emotions when that's actually not true. All emotions are here to teach us something, but it's up to us to actually be more patient with ourselves so that we can really process and move forward. So thanks for that question. But yeah, that is the little diagram of grief. It's something I could talk about forever, but I'm going to stop sharing my screen so that we can have an organic conversation for the rest of my time about grief. I'm curious for the both of you how grief has played a role in your life.
There's so many different instances for me. I feel like, changing schools, losing friends, um, uh, and then relationships, right? And then family members. So it's just been so many different instances.
I love that you identified just all the living losses that you've had to move through. What about you, Claire? Do you have any grief moments that come to mind for you?
Yeah, just like Marilyn, lots of different times. It could be like in elementary school when, well, back in my days, I don't think we called it bullying, but girls would be so mean, and didn't realize like when I went home to cry about that, I was told like, just kill them with kindness. Like it's, that's just how the life, life is, right? Just put a happy face on and like basically not process it. So that is one instance. And then from there, I love how you had your diagram and had denial in the middle. And I'm glad Marilyn brought that up. Because I was going to ask you about this wall, because it felt like I put up a wall to protect me from getting hurt, right? So knowing that at some point my grandma was going to pass away as she was getting older and sicker, I kind of put up a wall like, oh man, this is going to happen. And I'm going to kind of just protect my heart, and not get too close, which is hard, but it's like some kind of, that was my way of coping, I guess you could say. So yeah, I love this discussion.
Oh my gosh, so much gold in you even sharing that. Yeah, the two things that came to me when you're talking about being a little girl and experiencing bullying was I often think that when we lose things that happen outside of us, we also are always grieving past versions of ourselves. So that's something that also came up for me when you were sharing that. So thank you for that. And also talking about that wall, that's so natural. And that's the other thing I love about this grief work is so many of us are just trying to live the right way, whatever that means. And grief reminds us that there's no right way to live. And there's no right way to grieve. It's just more of finding our unique style that allows us to hold both that sadness and that joy in the same hand moving forward. So I really honor your process and what you noticed of how you were with your grandma. That's just something I want to normalize, and it's a great job noticing. Yeah. So as you can tell, I love this work. I could talk about it probably in my sleep. And just to close in the last few minutes, I want to ask if either of you have any thoughts or things come to mind from this segment of grief that we could just all work together to close on.
Claire, do you want to go first?
Sure. Okay. So as Melinda was talking, another story came to mind, and it tied in with what Marilyn said earlier. You were talking about, like love and being in a relationship, right? And it reminded me of another story when I was about 7 or 8 years old, and I totally forgot about it until I did a session with someone that really like I felt safe and was able to bring up some old memories. And I realized the first place that I made that decision at 7 or 8 years old to put up this wall to protect my heart was when my parents were fighting in the next room. So as they were fighting, I was sitting alone in the living room, scared, thinking what's going on with my parents. I could hear them yelling and stuff. And then they tell me the next day that they apologized because, obviously I heard what was going on. And they both said on separate conversations that, the person that you love can really hurt you, but a stranger who you don't really like, really don't care about their opinion, they can't hurt you as much. And so, not realizing it at the time, but subconsciously, I made a decision to put up this wall and not love someone like that because I didn't want to be hurt. And so when Marilyn said about, being in relationships and love and stuff, I wondered later why I had this problem or this issue with letting people come in too close to me. If I loved them too much, I would just push them away and afraid. So I love this topic, and I see where you're talking about, Melinda. Like, oh man, we could go deep in hours, but we've got limited time here. So this is fun.
Yeah, it is fun. And I know no one would ever think talking about grief could be fun, but I'm glad you think so. And I really resonate with what you're pointing to. I think it's a huge reason why I knew I needed the work myself, was not being able to process hurt just keeps the wall up. And I know that you being a coach, you've done so much inner work to let walls down, but that we all have a tender inner child that never forgets the things that shape us. And when I'm also at the edge of giving my heart to anything, I lost my beloved pet 6 months ago, and then was in an opportunity to love a new pet. And I just remember thinking to myself, God, I didn't know love could actually hurt so much. Because all I'm thinking about is if I love you, I'm so scared I'm going to lose you. But that's also why love is such a gift, and it's what we're here for. It's a courageous act. So yeah, learning to hold our hurt with compassion, process grief meaningfully, and open our heart once more. I think that's what we're really here for. Yeah. Thank you. With that said, that is my segment on grief. You can find me at my website, www.melindachinencoaching.com. I have all my offerings on there, or on social media, primarily Instagram. My handle is at Melinda Chinen.
Awesome. I love that, Melinda. I actually wanted to just jump in really quick too and share a little bit, because Claire and I have so much similarities. Like, I was also in 6th grade, that's when I went to a new school and people were just like so mean to me. And I ended up crying every single day. And my mom's like, should I pull you out of this school? And I'm like, no, but I don't remember that. And then thinking, okay, well, if I don't let people close to me, then they can't hurt me. And so that's what I became. I realized as an adult, I became a floater throughout middle school, throughout high school. I never let anybody get really close to me, because if they did, then they would be able to hurt me. And
Wow.
so then the same with relationships, right? Like, and I feel like the three of us, we just love so hard. Like, we have so much love to give, and we put it out there, but then when we get hurt, then it's like, oh, do we really want to get hurt again? How can we protect ourselves from not getting hurt? But just having that leap of faith and knowing that yes, sometimes people will get hurt, but when we love unconditionally, that's when our relationships just become that much more fruitful, and we take that leap of faith. Like, I get scared sometimes, even if it's just friendships. I'm like, oh man, I'm really putting myself on the line here, and sharing my heart and my love and everything, and I could possibly really get hurt. And it has happened in the past few years, but the amount of enriching friendships and relationships and connections that I've made is so much more worth it.
There you go. Yeah. And that's how we live a life of meaning. It's not that it isn't scary and it's not that it isn't hard, but it's that you had the courage to love anyway. So I congratulate you. It's beautiful.
Thank you so much, Melinda. We're so thrilled that you're here today. And so I will introduce our next guest, who I absolutely love, Claire Niibo Akau, aka Biz Coach Claire. She's an author. I have her book right here, Building Your Queen Life. It's fantastic. A professional keynote speaker and transformational coach. She helps to empower women overcome their most hidden blocks and combines fun tools and simplifies universal laws to help women transform their relationships and lives. And I've had the pleasure of working with her too. And I'm just so thankful as to how I have grown these past years that I have met with her. And, she's one of the people too that I was like, okay, I'm just going to open my heart to this woman and share with her everything that's going on. And this friendship has just blossomed into something that is just amazing. Like there's no judgment and just celebration, and just so safe. So Claire, I appreciate you. Thank you so much for being here. Please take it away.
Oh my goodness, Marilyn, what an introduction. I swear, I feel like crying right now that I'm holding it in. Yes, and such an honor to be sharing the stage with Melinda today. Wow, what an amazing session so far that we've had. Looking forward to just sharing some stuff with you guys, talking story. I love how Marilyn said she feels safe, because I today I really feel like I'm in a safe space and I can just share my heart and share some things that hopefully can help others out there. And actually, since I feel so safe, this is the first place I'm ever sharing this slide deck, presenting this to anyone. This is really my heart and something that I've held close to me recently and have been working on. But I really want to, go there and create dialogue with you ladies too. So it's all about being brave, being you, because we've talked about that growing up, those kind of like conditionings. We're told there's good and bad stuff, right? I love how Melinda said that there's no good or bad feelings, but we've been grown up to label it that way. So growing up, I wanted to be this good little girl. And when my grandbaby sang, "We Don't Talk About Bruno," I didn't see that movie. Did you ladies see that movie? No? Yes, Melinda. I never saw it, but that song resonated with me. It's like there's some stuff in families, like you just don't talk about that. You don't talk about, I love how Melinda was talking about grief, right? You just put this happy face on, sweep things under the rug. Yeah, there's bad stuff that may have happened. There's glass that may have broke, but our family, we just sweep it under the rug and act like everything's okay. So today I'm going to talk about taboos, triggers, and truths, and keeping it real. And I love how Melinda went there. So I was like, that gave me permission to just keep it real. In 2018, there I am taking a selfie, going out, acting like everything's all good, putting this smile on. But inside, I was so broken. I had suicidal ideations. I had thoughts and was thinking of different ideas to like just end it, and during that same time, it was the beginning of June 2018, these two people, Kate Spade, top of her game, she committed suicide. And that same, within 3 days, Anthony Bourdain, famous author, TV personality, and chef, he committed suicide too. Like, so you think like these people that are on top of their game, they're going through, can I say shit? Sorry. They're going through stuff too, like I'm not the only one that's going through this, and not being able to process grief. I love what Melinda's doing, because those topics were like totally taboo. Like even a cousin, a younger than me, had committed suicide, and it was like something we weren't allowed to really talk about. Like, how do you go on with life and not just kind of shush it, like not talk about it? So a lot of us are, I love this illustration. I'm a visual person. The empty gas. If we're driving around in this car and our gas tank is on empty, but we just, let's like slap this happy face sticker, act like everything's all good, put this smile on, but inside we're empty. We're like running on fumes, and that's how I felt back in the day in 2018. So that was taboos, triggers. Let's talk about, oh guys, oh my gosh. Talk about open kimono time. We're going to talk about some of my triggers. So a trigger is to cause a strong emotional reaction of feeling shock, anger, worries, especially because they're made to remember something bad that happens in the past. So triggers are like, I'm going to be talking about like relationships. And I love how Marilyn brought that up earlier. So that fear of being in that relationship because you're afraid of getting hurt, right? Yes, I totally resonate with that, because this is what would happen, right? 2018, I'm suddenly single and I start seeing someone, or I didn't even want to label it that, but if he said he was going out drinking, I'd like be like, what the heck? Memories of the past, like him, being labeled a player, or me being hurt from the past, just like started to take over my thoughts in my head. Then my imagination went wild. Like I imagined him doing things, or people gossiping about me, everybody else knowing that, oh, look what's happening behind Claire's back, and like all these crazy thoughts, to where I imagined myself being hurt. And then boom, trigger. I don't know, like crazy lady would take over and start texting. Oh, and all of a sudden when you're on text, you're brave, you're just talking all kinds of smack, and you're just saying whatever you want, and basically pushing the person away. Like they didn't do anything wrong, and I'm like, crazy lady. So I love to teach people about inner mosaic work and about dealing with the triggers. And it's that inner child that Melinda had mentioned. So 4 simple steps. I always keep things simple. Number 1, hit the pause button. A lot of my ladies that I've worked with, they're like, Claire, when I get that trigger, I'm just going on that downward spiral and I can't stop. I get crazier and crazier. And when he does something, then I do something crazier. So hit the pause button. I always say, once you feel like, okay, I'm a bit triggered, boom, let's just stop it there. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, what are you feeling? Right? So me in that situation that I just shared with you, I'd be like pissed and this and that. And first it started off like mad. And I'm like, why am I even mad? And as I start going down and asking myself questions, I realize the deep feeling is I'm afraid of being alone. I'm afraid of loss, like we're just talking about what Melinda talked about. And I ask myself, what part of you is feeling this way? And for me, this crazy person that took over the bus is who I call CJ. She's that 21-year-old version of myself that was in a relationship, and her boyfriend messed around, and so they broke up. And she's the one that ended up living with someone and getting raped and becoming homeless. And so she's the one that was like, you know what, all this crazy stuff happened to me because I put myself out there, and I need to protect myself because I'm again afraid of being alone. So CJ is the person that takes over the text and acts crazy, and I sit her down and have like this conversation in my head. Like I bring her to a safe room and I ask her, CJ, like, okay, I get you're feeling afraid of being alone, but what do you need right now? And basically, usually she needs some love. She needs to know she's okay. She needs to know she's safe. She needs to know that the story in her head, that crazy story that she was imagining, is not the case. She's good. She's safe. Make sense, ladies? Yeah. Awesome. So that's taboos, triggers, and truths. So the truth is that we are the captain of our ship. And I had to learn that in 2018, that I get to create a life that I love. And I had a hard time wrapping my head around that, because I thought, well, what about all these bad things that are so-called bad things that are happening to me, right? 21 years old, homeless, raped, all that stuff. Why, how could I be the captain of my ship for that? Ooh, that was some love and some deep work that I needed. And but that's one part. That's probably the first step that I took, was realizing that I have more control than I think over my life. Number two is clarity. Like, I felt like I was living with brain fog. Everything was a blur. And I think it's so in alignment with what Melinda teaches. It's this grief, this cloud of grief that was over my head that I didn't know how to process, that I thought, sweeping it under the rug, putting this smiley face on, that I was going to be okay. But no, I'm in this unclear. I couldn't make decisions in my life. I was so unempowered because there was no clarity in my life. Number three was trust. I had to learn to trust myself, to trust a higher power, whatever that may be for you, whether it's God, universe, source, whatever resonates with you, that higher power that you can lean on and trust and have faith in. And then trusting others, as scary as that may sound sometimes, after all that crap that maybe some of us have been through, it's hard to trust again. But, I had to relearn that in 2018. And still, it's been a work in progress over the last 5 years. And then number four, love. I mean, like, the pigeon comes out, the tita comes out of me when I talk about love, because that picture that I was showing you when Crazy Lady comes in and texts. Well, one of the things that my guy said was, you need to learn to love yourself. And I was like, ooh, what are you talking about? I love myself, I think I'm the whatever. And that was such a lie. Like, I was lying to myself that I loved myself. I didn't. If I did love myself, I wouldn't have treated myself like that. I wouldn't have felt so insecure and unconfident and just so afraid. If I really loved myself, things would have been so different at that time. And it's okay. I was, we're all doing the best we can with what we have, with where we're at in life. And that's where I was at the time. So I would get triggered when he said, you need to love yourself. So I did not understand really what love was until I did some work on myself and really had to love myself, love CJ, love that younger part of myself, love all parts of myself. That's what we call inner mosaic work that I learned from Samantha Kaawa. She created this amazing, beautiful coaching program that's all about the inner mosaic. I'm a certified coach with her with that. And that was a turning point for me, learning to love all parts of myself. And then number 5, control. Remember that Janet Jackson song back in the day, Control? Yeah. I never really got it or understood it until recently. I've been studying Think and Grow Rich, and being able to control our thoughts and our feelings is so critical. And when we don't love ourselves, we don't have that self-awareness, we're unable to really control those stories in our head. So that's what I've been working on. That's what I teach. That's what I feel like is so important to talk about all these things. Just because I went from crazy lady to being able to love myself and being able to help. I guess I don't want to call them other crazy ladies, but their stories are similar to mine's many times. So I just want, if there's anybody out there that kind of feels like, oh man, sorry, I get it, that totally resonates with me. Well, just want you to know that you're not alone. On my journey, I've come across other women that have felt the same way and have gone through stuff, and we exchange stories and laugh and crack up about it later. But we just keep it real, keep it raw, because that's really the way to be. Growing up, I love my family. I love I love them with all my heart, and nothing, that was, I don't want to say anything bad about my upbringing. It's all good. We did the best we could with what we knew, right? Growing up. And but I realized later that sweeping things under the rug, slapping on that smiley face just doesn't really do it. Like, we can't go on in life like that. We just feel like either running on empty, we feel exhausted, overwhelmed because we're trying to protect our feelings and everybody else's feelings. Or the other thing, like I showed you, there were other people who were at the end of their rope. Earlier this year, oh my gosh, Twitch, like, I don't know if you guys know who that is, but I heard Twitch, who was Ellen's DJ on the Ellen show, committed suicide as well, with so much going for him, with this happy face on, dancing and enjoying life, or supposedly we think enjoying life. But that was me with that fake happy face on, dancing, going out, having a good time, or acting like I was having a good time, but inside feeling so empty. So, I love that people like Melinda are out there talking about grief, talking about stuff like that. We're going there, we're lifting up the carpet, we're seeing all the broken glass that we've swept under the rug for all these years, and really embracing it, embracing these feelings, and letting us know that that's okay. It's human, nothing's wrong with us, and it's all good. It's okay to talk about it. It's okay to feel that way and process it with someone that can help you. So that's it for me, ladies. Thanks for going on this journey with me and letting me be in a safe space where I can share all that crazy stuff that I've been through.
Wow, Claire, that is so, so powerful. I really appreciate you. And please tell our listeners and viewers, where can they find you?
Oh, yeah. Visit.
With
Yeah.
you?
Let's keep it simple. bizcoachclaire.com. So just check it out. Bizcoach Claire. That's Claire with an E at the end.com. And then, look forward to connecting. I am on different social medias as well. Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook.
I love it. Thank you so much, both Melinda and Claire. What a wonderful, wonderful podcast today. We're so blessed to have you and learn from both of you. I mean, you're both such powerful women, and just spreading your vision and your light to people that need it. And I'm so thankful to know the both of you. We're thankful that this podcast is supported by Mutual Aid Network, which is a fantastic network that has collaborated with Innovative Nutrition. So something that happened recently, and Innovative Nutrition is about wearable nutrition. We help to educate people that they can get nutrition through patches if they can't do things orally, or maybe they have a sensitive stomach or gut, whatever it may be. Recently, my mom got into a horrific accident and broke many, many bones in her body. And it was just a very scary time for our family. And I'm so thankful for these patches, because she was bedridden, not really being able to eat as much as normal. We put all these different patches on her to just help her with her recovery, from CBD to complete vitamin to immune, because she was in the hospital, to joint support as her bones are starting to heal. So these have just been such a godsend. We're really thankful for Innovative Nutrition patches, and that Mutual Aid Network has partnered with Innovative. So Mutual Aid Network is a fantastic network of different people all across the globe who have wonderful talents, and they share their talents with each other through time. And so, in some countries, they may not have the finances to pay for certain activities or certain functions or websites or whatever it may be. So that's how we utilize each other as a community in Mutual Aid Network. So it's a beautiful community. Mutual Aid Network partner with Innovative. So if you would like to get some wearable nutrition while supporting and benefiting this amazing, amazing corporation, please go to man.innovtive.com. So that's man.innovative.com. And it's, a wonderful way to support yourself getting wearable nutrition, as well as the Mutual Aid Network. So we're so thankful again for our two guests. Thank you, Melinda. Thank you, Claire, for being on, and we will see you at the next podcast.
Thank you, Marilyn. That was so amazing.